Welcome back. I'm Andrew Kwan, and this is the 21st-Century Organist as part of the videos of the Organist Launchpad brought to you by the Royal Canadian College of Organists. Navigating a career in today's music world is daunting. It's not just work, it's a mindset, it's a lifestyle choice. As an artist manager for the past 30 years, I have worked with artists, emerging artists, mid-career artists, established artists, ensembles. And through my years of lecturing at the University of Toronto, Glen Gould School, Western University, I've encountered many organists, many musicians, many artists of all different genres. And definitely working in the industry, I meet artists not just of Western European classical music art form, but everything from Inuit throat singers to sarod players to I met an alpenhorn player once. So it's very interesting that moving forward in a time where even my role as an artist manager has evolved. 30, 40 years ago, the only means in which concert organizers could get in touch with an artist was through an agent. It's my understanding, reading studies and surveys, that each one of us, on average, we have 17 different ways in which people can get in contact with us. And that ranges from the old telephone to someone sending you a postal mail, but just think about all the online applications that someone can get in touch with you. So indeed, society has changed. Our music needs to find the relevance in society today. And as an aspect of that, we need to find the connection to those audiences. So the role of the 21st century organist has to take on many different facets. We can no longer just do our practicing, figure out the personality of the instrument, select the music. I wish that that was the case, but in a world where 60, 70, I do not have specific information, but the number of people whose access to music, and I'm not talking strictly about Western European classical, I'm just talking overall society listening, receiving music, consists of hearing them through earbuds or through their laptop. We realize that the quality, the timbre, the sonorities of sound repercussion has already been marginally jeopardized. So here we are as the content creator, still focusing on areas that we believe is essential, yet we are out of touch with those who are going to be receiving it. So current day musicians, current day artists really need to perpetually ask themselves, who are the existing audiences for classical music? We need to start asking these questions. We need to start understanding the audiences in order to create something. And of course, that is the perpetual difference between commercialism and culture, in that commercialism sees what society needs and creates the item to supply. Culture tends to create the product, and then they try to find the audiences for it. So who are our current classical music audiences? Next question, who are our untapped or potential audiences? Working with concert series across this country, I have worked with concert series from communities as small as Flin Flon, Manitoba, to Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, Edmonton, all the major centers. One of the areas that we always need to ask is, who else might come to the show, and what is stopping them from coming to our show? How many times have we driven around and seen the trailer signage for a warehouse sale at some warehouse, the Nike warehouse sale? The number of times which I have been involved in concerts, especially in a venue, in a theater associated in a university. If you are not familiar with that university, good luck finding that theater. Perhaps one of the reasons why the concert attendance is low is because people simply just don't know where that venue is. So how can we tap into sharing information so that it's a little bit more accessible? How do they need to feel welcome? Large centers across this great country is facing more immigration and more diversity than ever before. We cannot assume that the music of Bach, Beethoven, Brahms is a common comfort listening item for everybody. There was classical music, and this is a conversation, just because it's from Western European, we tend to refer to classical music as the music of that era, of that period, of that location. But that period also existed in India, in South America, in Asia. So there are other countries of music that our classical music, the Western European classical music, is foreign to. So how can our experience, how can you, the artist, how can your events make people feel welcome? How can we deepen their appreciation? What can we do? We realize that classical music is not taught in schools. The exposure of it. I can talk about all the changes and evolution of the delivery of classical music that has failed. I'm sure many of watching today recall programs on CBC Radio, on hymn sing, type of shows like that, Lawrence Welk. All of that has changed. And so how can we, through your experience, your offering, deepen the appreciation of the audiences who do attend? And do we need to do that? Of course we do. It is part of our responsibility. And at the end of the day, how can our art form flourish in an increasingly complicated and full cultural arena? 60 years ago, you would never have thought about attending a ukulele concert. One of the successful touring projects is the Ukulele Orchestra of Britain right now. So all of these things, how can we maintain and compete in this cultural arena? One of the things that I always love to say when I'm teaching to young students is that it's a lifetime. It's a lifetime of continuation. It's a lifetime of perpetual motion. And always remember our motto in our business, that work gets you work. So you have to be out there in order to create opportunities for yourself. Over my experience, people often ask me, what do I think makes a career? And many things make a career, of course, and one of which cannot be quantified or is obviously luck and opportunity. But when I review and think about what are the common threads, what are the common virtues, what are the common characteristics of those who have had a very successful career, those who continue to have a very successful career, I've identified these as what I call my 3 pillars of a career. The first being artistic readiness. This is something which all of you need to find your own journey. But in that journey, we have to be aware of the stop signs, the speed bumps, the yield signs. What do you do? What do you do musically? What do you do artistically? What do you do that you can design a program? In the episode, the video offering of becoming your own impresario, I talk about developing content. How can you stay relevant with designing thematic programs? How can you make your programs interesting? What are some of the new commissions? Who are some of the contemporary composers which are who are garnering attention? What are some of the historical anecdotes that you can share? What are the personal connections of these pieces? To think that you can walk on stage today and do nothing else but perform and play on your instrument and walk away is on par with going to a restaurant and your waitstaff not greeting you, not saying anything, and just handing you a menu. And if that is the type of experience you enjoy going to a restaurant, then I hope you find many people, audiences like that, coming to your show. The harsh reality is that we want connection, especially after 2.5 years of being isolated, being locked down. We need that connection. So that connection may very well be your personal connection to that piece, your personal connection to your development of that piece, your discovery of that piece, all that. And one of the areas that is critical, and I think it is not wrong to say, we have seen the appointments of conductors, music directors of major orchestras who are not just artistically amazing and have the musicality and musicianship to lead the orchestra, but they also have the ability to be the marquee for that organization. I challenge most of the artists. You have had 18, 20, 30 years of artistic development. We talk every day, so therefore I should be able to walk out there and say and talk to the audiences. You took 8 months, 6 months, 10 months, 10 years to prepare for that performance. How long did you prepare the talking aspects for your show? So this is the first area of my pillar, the artistic readiness. My second, administrative responsibility. I guess if you were to develop the Venn diagram of the three, you, the artist, would be in the middle, and all three of these are equally important. The artistic responsibility, which is a huge area that no one loves to do, and therefore some artists are fortunate to have agents like myself responsible for a lot of their contracting and their paperwork and their applications. But if you don't have that, one of my earlier sessions as part of the Organist Launchpad, I talked about the biography. That is the first piece of promotion. Do you have a biography ready? So the administrative responsibilities, have you developed the tools of the trade? Do you have your proper marketing assets? Your biography, your publicity photo? Have you collected past reviews? Do you have any third-party testimonials? Can you get a quote from somebody? As part of developing your tools for the trade, it's also essential that in 2023 that you have a social media presence, be it on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on TikTok. Unfortunately, it's the necessary evil. We have to figure out how to get on it, how to get our word out on it, because this is the means in which information is received by young audiences of today. And being in the society that we are today, in the way that I'm developing this information to you in a form of a video, do you have a video? Hollywood puts out hundreds of films every year, and these films run 110, 120, some Avatar runs 3 hours, etc., yet there is someone that can put that and make a trailer into 3 minutes. What is your trailer for yourself? That being called the video press kit. And if you have a performance coming up, what is the video trailer for your performance? I hope realistically that's 6 months in advance of your concert workback timeline schedule, that you know what you're playing. Surely you can capture a little bit of that performance to create a concert video trailer. So that being the case, do you have the video trailers? And in society today, our go-to is a website. Do you have a website? what I suggest to all emerging artists, if possible, every performance today, you record, you videotape it. Investing into your career is huge in that you're fortunate that the quality of an iPhone is already so great, but going out there and getting things like a Tascam, a Zoom, audio recorder, a GoPro, all of these things should become familiar to you. If you can't afford to buy it, can you borrow it? But videotape all performances so that you have an inventory of content for you to create your video trailer. Next, part of that administrative responsibility is understanding the marketplace. Take the time to figure out who your target audiences are. Where can you expand? What market can you expand? And how, at the end of the day, do you get the word out? My rule of thumb is if you can allocate 20% of your musical activity into the administrative responsibility, that is really important. So, understanding your marketplace. That is my second pillar as part of the administrative responsibilities. The third, and my final, is your career endurance. In the sense that, obviously, the longer you've been at it, the more people know you. But in the duties and responsibilities of that, your own personal skills. Can you continue growing your personal skills? Yes, technology is changing drastically, and perhaps, we need to spend some time, whether it's an online course, to understand social media. Time management. Yes, as I said, 20% of your time should go to administrative duties. And that administrative duty is part of this career endurance where I'm going to put into this basket your network and your connections. How do you maintain connection? How do you stay in touch with your network? Is that through a newsletter? Is that through direct contact? These are things that you need to take care of. That we can no longer assume that, if I play, they will come. Society has become much more complex, and these are part of the leadership responsibilities for your own career that is very important. And last but not least, making sure that you seek opportunities, that you're looking for opportunities, that you ask for opportunities. Sometimes they are there, just that no one's going to offer because you never asked for it. So we have to think about these things in the career endurance. And at the same time, especially for those emerging young artists watching, I think about the careers of two pianists. One, rest in peace, Leon Fleischer, and the other is Menachem Pressler. They performed well into their 90s. I believe Leon Fleischer played the Mozart Concerto with OSM 4 years ago, and he was 90 by that time. How long was his career? Things are not this industry, this specific genre of music, this is not a TikTok influencer splash success. You have 20, 30, 40, 50 years ahead of you. But during that time, some of the areas that I continue to see, as I mentioned, the three pillars, those who stay in touch with people continue to get other opportunities, re-engagements. And one area that's perhaps you can fall into all three, which is a very tricky one, which one has to examine themselves, is the financial investment into your career. This holds true for any business, and that is in essence what you are. And you are a small business. Nike doesn't go out and spend every dollar of revenue that after selling their sports attire. There's a portion that they use to reinvest into marketing. How much are you reinvesting into your career? So that being the case, one of the areas that we have to stay fresh about, obviously in the investment, is reinventing yourself. When was the last time you went for new photos? When was the last time you had your biography rewritten? All of these things are reinventing yourself. Can you perform somewhere else? That just sort of changes your fan base. So from that point of view, I lump it into the career endurance, reinventing yourself. We can see it in popular culture with pop stars. They go through different phases, different stages, yet we continue to, and I'm not saying that you need to change repertoire or change instruments, but something as fundamental as, you know, your publicity material, your website's look. How can you change that? And two other points. Remember to always evaluate, review, see how you can improve on systems. So often, and this holds true for all artists, our pinnacle is the performance, and then it's absolute anticlimactic as far as concern and responsibility after that performance. We need to take it the next step and review that performance and see what worked and accept what did not work, because only through that acceptance can we grow and improve. So one of the areas as well that we don't have time to discuss is also our concern about outreach. We realize that the organ is in a place of worship, and the expansion of congregation is declining. We need to figure out ways to attract younger audiences. We need to figure out ways to develop future organists. Yes, it has become our responsibility. And as I said right at the top, it's not just a one-dimensional. It's a lifestyle, it's a mindset. Because at the end of the day, the music that you perform, the instrument that you're performing on is important. And through that, we can communicate and develop a better society for all. Thank you for listening. That concludes my talk about the 21st Century Organist as part of the video offerings of the Organist Launchpad, brought to you by the Royal Canadian College of Organists.